When I first planned this project, it was my intention for this video to be comical. However, I have recently decided that there is nothing comical about the situation. It is appalling and saddening that women were so marginalized in the scientific community and continue to be so affected today. There is nothing funny about this. I will not make a joke about how they don't want us to know this secret information because it's true. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to know about women in science, which is why the women of the Harvard Observatory are hardly mentioned in textbooks. It is why no one can name the person who discovered that stars are filled with hydrogen. And this is truly sad. And so I shall not make a joke about this, because this is humanity at its lowest. Our story begins in 1881 at the Harvard College Observatory. In 1881, Edward C. Pickering became the director. He specialized in a type of practice known as photographic astronomy. He took pictures of the night sky and then drew conclusions based on the data he collected. For this practice, he needed many assistants. However, his male assistants were not as productive as he had hoped. Thus, he made a bet with them. He bet that his maid, Wilhelmina Fleming, could do an even better job than they could. He was right. Wilhelmina Fleming, she was born in 1857 in Scotland. She received no official college education. A woman with no official college education managed to become an even better assistant than men who had spent years in studying astronomy. Pickering realized her true potential, and he hired her full-time. Eventually, he began to hire exclusively female assistants, and they were known as Pickering's computers, or often Pickering's harem. He placed Wilhelmina Fleming in charge of seeing to recruiting new assistants. Wilhelmina Fleming also, while working at the observatory, developed a system of stellar classification. Each star was given a letter assignment ranging from A to O. This system is rooted in the system we currently use to this day to classify stars. Antonia Maury. She first joined work at the observatory in 1888 after graduating from Vassar College. Like Fleming, she developed her own system of stellar classification while working at the observatory. However, this system emphasized the width and sharpness of spectral lines. Pickering disagreed with her new system, and the two often had arguments about it. Eventually, Antonia left in the year 1896, and she did not return to the observatory until the 1910s, after Pickering had retired. The next computer is possibly the most famous of all, most notable of all. Annie Jump Cannon. Born in 1863, she studied at Wesley College in 1880 and became a special student at Radcliffe College in 1895. In 1896, she began work at the observatory. While working there, she developed a new system of stellar classification, combining the work of both Fleming and Maury. To this day, this is the system which we use in astronomy to classify stars. She was also the first woman to receive an honorary degree from Oxford University, and she established the Annie Jump Cannon Prize in the year 1933 to be awarded to outstanding women in the field of astronomy. Truly an amazing woman. Finally, we come to Cecilia Payne born in 1900, she graduated from New Horn College of Cambridge University in the year 1923. She first joined the Harvard Observatory in 1927 after Pickering had retired. Though she did not work under Pickering and thus was not part of his harem, she was still nonetheless one of Harvard Observatory's computers. While working at the observatory, she published a doctoral thesis. This doctoral thesis earned her a PhD, the first PhD to ever be awarded from Harvard's astronomical division. Not just the first PhD awarded to a woman, the first PhD in general. The thesis of the subject of her thesis statement was the theory that stars were made of hydrogen. Today, we know that stars are indeed made of hydrogen. Cecilia Payne is the woman who developed that theory. This was a groundbreaking theory in her day. However, there were many who chose not to believe it and instead subscribed to the earlier theory that stars were made of heavier elements. One such person was Henry Norris Russell, who persuaded Cecilia's boss into persuading her to recant her entire theory. 4 years later, Henry Norris Russell introduced a theory that the sun was made of hydrogen. It is truly sad that history chooses to forget these women. They did amazing things in science, and yet hardly anyone knows their names. It is almost common knowledge to this day that stars are made of hydrogen. However, it is not common knowledge to know that Cecilia Payne developed this theory. As scientists, we study Newton's law of gravity, Darwin's theory of evolution. Why do we not study Cecilia Payne's theory of hydrogen, of stars comprised of hydrogen? Cecilia Payne was forgotten by history and ignored in her day because she was a woman in science. All of these women were ridiculed because they were women in science. Even Wilhelmina Fleming, the first computer, often remarked of how she felt as though she were being paid unequally to her male colleagues. It is truly astounding that history chooses not only to forget these women, but also repeats the exact same abuse that they suffered. To this day, women are marginalized in the field of science. To this day, women are ignored. And to this day, women scientists female scientists do not achieve the same notoriety as their male colleagues. So no, I won't make a joke about how they don't want us to know about these women, because it is true. They don't want us to know. They would rather us believe that the same men constantly discovered the same things in science.